Good morning, Montreal, and good morning, friends. Very happy to be back again this year. And on behalf of Accenture, we are very proud to be associated with World Summit AI again as the headline strategic partner. So thank you again. And last year, I was talking about a topic on business of AI. And I shared with you my thoughts around what AI can do for business and what business should be thinking about AI. And today I would like to share with you something which is very close to me, very kind of, I'm passionate about, which is AI for good. And as I start thinking about AI and start connecting the dots with AI and good, I was reminded of the three wise monkeys. And the three wise monkeys, as was made popular by Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation of India, the country I was born and raised, is the old saying of speak no evil, hear no evil, think no evil, and do no evil. And as I start connecting the dots with AI and start thinking about the foundation of AI, and I kind of start analyzing it and thought, speak and hear no evil. That's like comprehend. Think no evil is learning. And do no evil or speak no evil is act. That's the framework of thinking about good and what good looks like. And this existed 100 years back, and this framework is still so very relevant when we think about what good looks like. And I was working on these slides over the weekend, and my 11-year-old daughter came and said, what's about these monkeys? And you're going to talk in a conference, and you're building slides with monkeys. And I explained to her in a way that she would understand, and then she kind of nodded her head and said, okay, I get it. So that means you're talking about good AI, much like good human beings. I was thinking it's good AI or AI for good. There's always a bit of an yin and yang and kind of an balancing act between forces that exist in the universe. Freedom versus regulation. Innovation versus risk and fear. And that will exist, and that will continue to exist and kind of complement each other and in some way be counter forces to each other. And that probably builds the challenge between them and kind of creates that tension that improves each other. But one of those forces are important, and I often get conflicted, is intent and impact. And I often get kind of myself conflicted about, am I able to make an impact when it comes to topics like AI for good? Should I be able to do something, move the needle, and those type of questions? And that's where I think it's important that we consider consistency and persistence of intent. And how do we make sure that we are able to continue with that and able to continue in a way that will eventually lead to impact? I often also get the question, where do I start? There's a number of things that we could do, there are problems, there are global problems, there's sustainability problems, there's sustainable development goals from United Nations. Where should I start? And there are broadly 4 macro topics: healthcare, education, environment, and community. And if you think about our day-to-day lives, we are among all of these. These are adjacent to us in every single day. We would be probably touching upon each of these things in some form or other. And if you double-click on these, the opportunities are plenty. And I'm sure, if we poll this room, we will probably get a whole conference out of it to talk about the use cases and what we could be doing with these type of causes. Whether it's early disease detection, drug discovery, patient diagnosis, patient care in healthcare, to student specific personalized learning, or intelligent tutoring systems, or grading and feedback in education, all the way to automated car or energy conversion, and to public and private safety when it comes to community. The opportunity is limitless. And as the opportunity exists, there's obviously certain darker clouds of concerns that are around us, and we have been talking about that since the morning. And there are things that needs to be watched out for. So we need to make sure that we are able to draw the line of ethics and responsibility. We are able to respect privacy and build solutions that are secure, that we all feel confident and feel like they are secure. And then how do we make sure that we are intentional about addressing bias and fairness? So these are all the things that usually come in the way. But if you consider the framework, the three wise monkeys, and when in doubt, check on that framework and check on your intent and the persistence and consistency of the intent. And then it's with that intent, Shravan Kumar, who is a high school student in Louisville, Kentucky, built something very simple. So he was obviously, intrigued by the problem that we are all having, and we understand that 40% of the food that we produce are wasted, and all the data points that we have. He built a simple app called Foodle and a smart basket with a camera and a GPS tracker. And it's readily available. You can buy it on Amazon cheap. And all it does is that your surplus food, put it in the basket, take a picture with the app, it does the geo-tracking, and then it notifies some of Shravan and his friends, and they go and pick it up, and they deliver it to the soup kitchen, and it gets used for the right reasons. Simple solution, simple thought, intent, and was able to make a difference. Similarly, 3 friends in Asia, they thought they will think about the garbage problem. And we all know that, even in countries where the classification of garbage is quite advanced, there's still problems, and in some other countries it's more so. When we have unclassified objects like, it's an eggshell or an bone or a vegetable scrap lands in a landfill that it shouldn't be, but should be in the compost, there's greenhouse gases that that are produced, and all sorts of things happen. So simple intent, build a model that does 97% accurate classification of the garbage. And then obviously, now it's much broader, and then people are building on top of it. But the point here is intent, and able to do something that is micro, and able to build something considering the fact that there will be those yang and yings and those counterintuitive thoughts in our mind. But that shouldn't hold us back. And with the same thinking, I have been spending time in the last several years with universities that we have been working, whether it's helping them with their inclusion and diversity challenges, helping them with their mental health problems, and looking at data to predict some of those factors, working with children rehabilitation hospitals, thinking about experiences that children should be having, or working with youth homeless shelters to look at the data and analyze and find reasons why there is repeat homelessness or repeat kind of coming back and going off the shelters and those type of problems. Again, the intent and thinking that there will be something that we should be able to do over a longer period of time, the impact will be there. And I'm very fortunate to be part of an organization that encourages that. Accenture Development Partnership is something that we have had for the last almost 20 years, 2 decades, and working with not-for-profits, governments, and of course, the for-profit organizations, 200 plus projects across a number of different impact areas, and really impactful work. And these are practitioners like myself, helping organizations like, Save the Children, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, working with World Economic Forum, or with public sectors like World Bank, and of course our private sector, and then solving some of the problems that we often don't always kind of, get an opportunity to work with. So that's kind of what made me start thinking about this topic. And I intentionally wanted to talk about this topic. And of course, we will talk about generative AI, we'll talk about all the challenges that we have, all the controversies that we have about AI. And I'm happy to kind of address those things as well. But this is a topic that should be above and beyond all of that. And as I summarize all that I kind of have gathered over the last several years, there are 3 things that I wanted to leave you with. It's intent over impact, that's important. Making sure that we have the intent to go and do something different. Micro goodness is important. We often get distracted by the macro problems and how do I solve world hunger, but it's micro goodness. Some of the examples that I mentioned, Shravan Kumar thinking that he can do something with hunger, the 3 friends from Asia thinking about, let's do something about garbage, or we're spending time with universities or shelters and all, we're able to make an impact with micro goodness. And the good thing is that we all have the power. We have the power of technology. We have the power today of science, of research, of innovation. And we have the power today of support from organizations, commercially, from a business perspective. So the time is there, and the time is now for us to think about intent, think about micro goodness, and do remember, there's another wise man who said something. There is obviously a responsible part to it. And responsibility comes with the power that we get. And with that, I really, really think, and I'm confident and optimistic that all of us, we will be the steward of taking ourselves to a better place for the next in line for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Krish. That was fantastic. And if it's okay with you, we'll take some questions from the audience. Could you raise your hand? I can see a gentleman here, and I can see another one here. So maybe we'll take these 2 questions. This gentleman first, and then if the person, we go. Yeah, we could stay in the other person. Thank you.
Good to see you again. Remember you last year, and what you said was very good last year as well. I have no doubt that what you're saying is absolutely true, and what Accenture is trying to do and even what AWS is trying to do is true. But here's the problem. You are a large organization, a well-resourced organization, and much of the AI space is not with well-resourced. Well, yes, they are, but they're startup organizations. And honestly, their focus is on building their business, not necessarily on doing good. How do we influence those organizations to look toward their future rather than look at their present?
It's a great question, and I would say that Shravan Kumar was an organization of one. The three friends were an organization of three. So I don't think the scale really matters. It's, again, I'll go back and it might sound like a broken record, like the intent matters. And my message here is not to organizations by large, like it's to individuals. It's to all of us here individually. If we can wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to spend an hour of my day doing something different, organizations will be encouraged because their people, their employees will be thinking something different. So that's how I will look at it. I would not fight the battle that would be difficult to fight, but it's all of us who has to feel the difference of doing something good. And as I mentioned, we have the power to do it.
Thanks, Krish. It's an extremely broad message you're putting out there. And then the next, yeah, I think we're right there. Perfect.
Thank you very much for your speech, Krish. Your name is Krish. I'm Krishiv. And I really enjoyed your speech about AI for good because I'm currently working on a startup that's leveraging generative AI to create an AI tutor that's at least 10 times cheaper than private tutoring to fight educational inequity. So I was wondering with you personally, what do you think are some of the barriers and challenges for you applying AI with education?
The challenges are the same that I mentioned. Like those are the macro challenges. Like we need to be kind of mindful of those three macro things, like the ethical aspects of it, and making sure that we are building, designing with the right intent of responsibility and ethics in mind, the privacy, the security aspects of it, and then of course bias and fairness. I mean, those are the things. And then the other angle to education, I would say, is making sure that it is not creating a greater divide, because sometimes we build the solutions and then they are only available to a certain population, and then that creates a broader divide between who has access to those and who doesn't. So how do we get this more accessible to people so that we can create equity is going to be one of the challenges that I would think in education.
Thank you.
Make
very
sense?
much. Sorry, did you?
No, I think I'm, yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, okay, there's somebody pointing. Is this a hand? Be brave.
Oh,
Raise it high. Oh, there we go, over there. I just wasn't looking. I was looking at you because you were physically noisier. Yes, there we go. Perfect.
Hi, thank you. My name is Richa. You mentioned about how you said that you're working with organizations like the World Bank, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and stuff like that. What's been your favorite project, and how does it work? That's my first question. And the second question is, you talked about intent over impact. Can you explain that a bit further?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take the first one first. So one of my most favorite projects on this, as I was kind of briefly touching upon, is for one of the universities in Canada. The problem we were trying to look at is mental health. And we wanted to understand what causes mental health triggers in the campus. And we were able to use some of the data, both internal and publicly available data, and able to model that information to actually predict where interventions will be required from a mental health perspective, where there could be some potential situations that could lead to either social brand and other kind of impact. So that was a real thing that we were able to actually do for the university, who was able to take actions, and we measured that over a period of a couple of years and actually helped them to intervene in a number of situations. So that was one of my favorite ones. There are a few others I mentioned. We did some work with the shelter, and then we looked at the data for homelessness. So that was another really favorite project that I did. And then to your second question around intent over impact, the point here is that we often get distracted by, am I making an impact? When will I see that I'm moving the dial of the world macro problems? And my guidance is to think more about the intent versus trying to measure the impact, because it takes time sometimes to measure the impact. So start off with the intent. Wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do something good today. I'm going to use an hour of my day, and for the local community, for the local school or university or something, I'm going to talk to them and see what might they need help with. It could be as simple as they might need help with a report that I would build. But that intent is important over trying to solve world problems, which is impact.
Thank you very much. Prioritize intent, very wise words. Please give a big hand to Krish Banerjee. Thank you very much. And now, as you can probably hear, we have a break. We'll be back in this room at 11:25. Here we're going to continue on the main stage with lots of panel discussions and thought leadership, but there are also going to be 3 tracks. The first track is Deep Dive Tech Talks. The second track, track 2, is Innovation Insights. And the third is our workshops. And the first workshop will be from Amazon Web Services on the topic of accelerate machine learning innovation and Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart, with Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart. So if you're interested in that, there is limited availability for our workshops, and it's first come, first served, so please make sure you're there at 11:25. And have a look at the program, have a look at the app for further details. But have a lovely break, get some refreshments, and see you back here shortly. Thank you.